So because I really want that complete May 2026 haul to get the views I want to get, because it's really weird how this works for me. This whole YouTube thing in general, with views and algorithms and all that. I will never ever blame when I complain about YouTube and the views, the comments, and the all that shit. I am obviously not blaming the fans. I know it's YouTube. It's screwing. You know, it's YouTube screwing over the little guy in order to boost YouTubers like Jake Paul, Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, PewDiePie. Actually, PewDiePie, not really. But all these YouTubers who are big names, and most of which are completely reprehensible people. PewDiePie being the only example who's actually a really good person. Probably the best version of a popular YouTuber you can get to. Like, that guy, like, he slaps, or he cooks, as the kids say. Actually, I'm not subscribed to him. I don't like his content isn't for me. I think he's the best content creator for fans of his channel, but it's just not for me. I know he's different than what he used to be, but still, it's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is Jax Films, Oni Plays, the Ding Dong and Julian era, at least. Those kinds of channels. YMS for movie reviews, Near Mint Condition for comics, Jax Films for skits/comedy, and video game content, I guess, Video Game Donkey. Although I don't watch any one of his videos either. But anyways, as I was saying about the YouTube, I'll get like 5 views on, let's say, this video right here. And then the next video I'll upload for no reason gets 1,000 views. Not actually 1,000, but in comparison to getting 5 views here, I'll get 1,000 next video for no other reason than that's just when cookie crumbles. I think to myself, oh, because I use hashtags. No. It's because I did this. No. It's because I title it this. No. We just whatever video. So I do like have some hope that if I just keep the most recent upload I want. Like say that again, the most recent upload I want to have the most amount of views is the complete May haul. It was my birthday haul, so a huge stack of comics, and I just want that to get the most amount of views possible. To be fair, I guess to get a comic review where I'm actually reviewing comics I'm showing off, that should get more views so people know like my taste in comics, and then or they're like, oh, recommendations, like you actually like this book they're talking about, and then they just assume you'd like it, or say, oh, it's an author that I like Chip Zdarsky, I got all of his image work, and none of them which I had read before. Now, Carbon Gray, I had read the first issue, and I said I really liked it. That's why I was so interested in finally getting the trade. But even then, I actually don't think I mentioned that most recent video. I might have. I don't know. There's 2 versions of the same video, that's why. It was a live stream, then I did the more condensed, and not condensed, but a better version of the live stream. And that was a complete graphic novel haul for May of 2026. But anyways, without further ado, because I want to make this a little bit quicker, let's get right into it. First one up, so we're going through OGNs first, and I still have, I'm gonna keep calling this Anastasia. I know that's not how you pronounce it, but this, I don't even know, Athanasia, but I'm gonna always say Anastasia because of that Disney movie. When you name something that's so similar to another word, and the word is like kind of unpronounceable, I'm always gonna call it by the other name. So Anastasia. This is written. Usually, I don't mention the writer if they don't have image work in their background. The reason why that is that's just the way I am. It's the way I make my content. I guess you could call it me being OCD, maybe a little bit autistic. I don't know, but it's just one of those things that's how I run my channel. But this is written by. She does actually have image credit. It's just one issue of one story in the Creepshow anthology. But this is written by Daniel Kraus, and Daniel Kraus wrote Autumnal and Cemeterians, both of which I've read before. And I think he may have only done 4 comics. It was one Creepshow story, Autumnal, Autumnlands, and then this. Sorry, not Autumnlands. Autumnal, Cemeterians. So Creepshow, Cemeterians, Autumnal, this, and that's it. I could be wrong, but anyways, I really enjoyed Autumnal. Autumnal was like, maybe it might just be one of my favorite comics of the last 10 years. It is that good. It's one of the best horror comics, and automatically solidified Daniel Kraus, for me at least, as being the Stephen King of horror comics. It has that feel. Yeah, I haven't read a Stephen King book in a long ass time, but it still had that feel. Like, it immediately reminded me of Stephen King, like that kind of tone, that kind of vibe. But anyways, this is an OGN, and it's a pretty thick OGN. Now, this does go by chapter, so I'll probably end up reading it by chapter, not reading it all in one sitting. But I just added a lot more comics to the pile, so obviously it's going to be a little while until I get back into this one, which I got to read pretty soon. This is a library book that's due. I can renew it one more time, but it's due very soon. And I renew it one more time until like 2 weeks from then, so probably 3 weeks total. Yeah, even then that's not a whole lot of time. It's still a limited amount of time for me. This one I knew nothing about. I know nothing about. It's the Wood Chipper. Now I was flipping through it just to see. Oh, is it go by chapter? And it does, but there's a lot of dialogue in this book. That is just a lot. Now, will I end up liking this book, or will it end up being one of those books that I'm like, oh, it's good, but the dialogue of anyway, one of those things that I see that the pacing is awful because of how much dialogue there is. I do kind of have that mindset going in. Like, I should probably know that the pace, it's going to take me a lot longer to read this than Anastasia will, despite being the same amount of pages per chapter, because of how much more dialogue there is. Here's a comparison. Actually, I don't want to look too much into this book. So it's like the normal amount of dialogue for a modern comic book. Also, I really like black and white artwork. I think black and white when comic books go black and white, I think it's like one of those things that if you do it too much, you'll overdo it. So every time I see it, I'm like, oh, man, it's black and white. That's kind of cool. I don't know why that's the case for me. It's not like it's gonna make the book any better. Like if it's in color, I'd hate it, but it's in black and white, I really like it. No, that's not the case at all. It's just, especially if you can pull it off. There are some black and white comics where I'm like, okay, this should have been in color, but you need it black and white, and now I can't really. Now the artwork is kind of worse for that. But then they'll like Walking Dead does it perfectly. The books I was showing last month that were black and white did it perfectly. This does it perfectly. Black by Kwanzaa. I don't know his last name because it's unpronounceable for me. He did the artist there was Jamal Igle, and he does the artwork really well, the black and white artwork really well. He pulls that off, but some can't. It's very rare that happens, but it's noticeable enough to where I do say sometimes it's done bad. But anyways, Anyways, the Wood Chipper, which I know nothing about, it is Fantagraphics, right? Based on the cover price, I want to say yes. What's the other book? There was one book I was looking at. It says it isn't that bad. It's a pretty thick book, and it's $25. And I think the paper quality is better than your average comic. Yeah, kind of is. But anyways, what was the thing I was going to mention? It said by the way. Hopefully the only time I've said this video. But what was the other book I was looking at? And it was like, oh, it was 2000 AD. They had a 112-page paperback that I don't think was, I think it was like maybe magazine size. I think all their magazine size, but it was $25, and it was 112 pages paperback. It's like, oh my god, thank God I'm not getting any books from that publisher. If you want to know why I collect Image, I think about Image, a big reason is the quality, first of all, and then second of all, the price. You get the best for your buck from Image Comics, and a lot of the big name indie titles recently have been published by Image. White Sky, Everything Dead and Dying, technically, although I don't know if anyone was talking about that when it was first releasing. Diork. I'm going to call it Diork, not Dork, because it has the apostrophe right next to D and O, so it's Diork. That's just the way I say it. I think it's how you're supposed to pronounce it. Not that one. So 3 books that I dropped. Not Hercules. I might jump back into that one. That's the one I was about to show off. I might do Hercules, the Prince of Power book I showed off last time, but I don't know. I'm trying to make it so when I'm done with each book that's not the Image books, and I'll explain why that is in a second here, but like the library books, once I'm done with those, I'm not replacing it with anything else, unless I have to. Because I want to dwindle it down to at least like 17 per day plus an OGN. So it's not too much for me, and I can actually watch the movies I've rented in the library sometime soon. What was my point? Oh, so I don't know if I'll be jumping on Hercules after. But the books that I dropped, I started but dropped Loki, Agents of Asgard, which I don't know if I went when I was going over my comic book reviews. I don't know if I mentioned that I dropped it. And then Ultimates, both of which are written by Al Ewing. I don't think if it's not Immortal Hulk, I really don't think I like Al Ewing's writing. There's another book I'm currently reading by him that I'm liking. So all these books I've read, except for the OGNs, I have read at least one chapter of. So none of the books I've gone over so far, I've read anything out of. But once I get to you'll know once I get to it. I'll mention it. I'm doing this a bit later than because the way that the week has gone. I'm doing this a bit later than I wanted to. Alright, we're 11 minutes in. We're still only the third book. So next one is, which I also had for a while, Lone Wolf and Cub. I stupidly thought there was only going to be 2 deluxe editions of this, and then this series would be over. It looks like we're getting more than 3. Which is kind of annoying because the only reason why I was like so adamant, gotta read this now, is because I thought all the series was out right now in deluxe format. Now this is a manga, and manga and me do not get along so well. Although this kind of looks like it's more, it does not, it doesn't scream manga right away for me, as I'm flipping through this right now. I know it is manga, but isn't scream it right away. But I have the worst luck with manga. Berserk I did like, what I was reading so far I liked, but I don't remember a lot when I read. I remember that scene. I read partway through the first deluxe edition. I almost want to say I read all of the first deluxe edition, which I think actually I did, and then partway through the second. It was January of last year when I dropped the title, and that wasn't for any reason. It was just the way I was collecting comics back in the day from the library and reading comics back in the day from the library. It was just one of those things. But I did drop it. So I did drop it. There's and just like you took all the words, took my script, and I don't actually have a script. I just go. So honestly, if anything, it's probably less egregious of a mistake that I'm not even scripted, and I still do the and ums. If I was scripted and I was doing the and ums, I guess that'd be worse. But I don't script my videos. I don't want to do that because that's not what I want to do for this content. I mean, yeah, I know I'm gonna say about each book, obviously, but other than that, there's no real script. I don't edit either. Editing is something that I do want to think about doing, but I'm in the super early stages of doing that. And I have actually, if I was a super stutter, I actually have edited videos before. Every time I've done it, it's gone to the shitter. It's just been awful. Yeah, I'm using YouTube's shitty editing software, but I'm not going to pay for something I'm not going to use. I'm going to pay for Adobe Premiere, have it crash on me every single time I use it, because my laptop I wouldn't want to cooperate with Adobe Premiere, and then have the videos only come out a little bit better than they actually do. You know, it's one of those things I'm just like, I like this amateurish content. Doing it this way. You know, doing this kind of amateurish, early YouTube, I guess you could say, style of content. Although, I don't know how much that fits. But anyways, Lone Wolf and Cub. Hopefully, I like this a lot more than a lot of other mangas. I don't know what it is for me. I think it's just too different for me. But even then, I'm like, no, that can't be it. I don't know what it is. I'm not the only one, though. There is someone that's been reading comics since the 70s, and I say 80s. Since the 80s, and even he doesn't like manga. Like, he infamously doesn't like manga. Run the Dungeon by Patrick Kindlon. I have been waiting for this book for fucking ages. I kept putting it in, even though they said that the library had it. They're like, no. Now so there are 2 systems for my local library to put in interlibrary requests. There is the old one, their main one, which you have to use which you have to use more than often than you should, because more libraries are using that system than the new system. And then there's a new system. The new system is perfect. Perfectly polished, all the glitches and bugs have been fixed if they were any to begin with, and 9 times out of 10, when you put in a request, they'll get that book to you. Now, sometimes you have to wait a little bit longer because other libraries may have it checked out, or it's just too new, and sometimes if a book is too new, you can't check it out at all if you don't have a library card for that library. They just won't let you do it. Like, no, we want the home-based library patrons to be able to check this out first. You gotta wait a few months to even be able to put in requests. So it's still like little nitpicky things I don't like about the new system. But the old system is awful, because for books like this, they'll keep saying, no, 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 no. Oh, yeah, actually, wait. After 7 years, we always had this copy, and we're gonna act like we always had this copy, and it'll just arrive. It's so annoying, and I honestly hate the old system. It's like a 50-50 chance. And even 50-50 sometimes is overselling it. So, finally got this. Cannot wait to read it. It's been so long that I was like, oh yeah, for a while there, I wasn't even sure this was a comic book. So I thought it was like how Jim Zub does that for Dungeons and Dragons. He'll have the actual comics, but then we'll have like a role-playing guide. That's what I thought this was at first. I wasn't 100% sure, but no, it is a actual comic book. Cannot wait to read this. I've not read anything by Patrick Kinlan yet, I don't think. So, interested to check this one out. And then the last OGN is not technically an OGN, but it is digital chapters, so I count it as an OGN, and that is DCeased at World's End. This one is what I cited as being the worst of the series so far when I first read it. Now, I read it all in one sitting. I'm not doing that again. I'm going to read it by chapter 3 times over so I can finish it in 5 days. Now, I forgot. Now, 2 days ago, I was just too tired, and I was like, I can't read anymore, and I didn't end up doing this one. And then the next day, the same kind of thing happened. We didn't read this again, so I'll probably be dropping this title for now, but I will try and be jumping on it. At least finish this, and then probably after that, I'll go on a hiatus for DCeased. And then jump back on it, and go back to DCeased number 1 again, and then whole cycle will continue. Now this one I own myself, so I can take it just as long as I want to finish the series. The next one is Floppies, because I wanted to read Aquaman and Green Arrow Deep Target again, by Brennan Thomas. Brennan Thomas is a writer that I am kind of 50-50 on. Loved Horizon, thought Excellence was a bit overwritten, and did like this one enough. So, time will tell if my 30th reread of Excellence I'll change my mind on. So far, yes. But, as of the last time I read it, I was kind of glad I'm done with it. But Horizon is really good. And I'm rereading, and I'm now rereading Horizon 2. And a lot of it, I always said Horizon was kind of messy and all over the place, but in a good way. And not so much this time around. I can tell why I was saying that, because there are certain things I was like, well, I don't, okay. But the art, like, it's one of those books that you read it, as you reread it, you understand more and more and more. That's the best kind of comic for me. Because it's like, it just makes the rereadability factor all the higher. Is when I read it for the first time, I can't make a lick of sense out of it. And I read it a second time, I'm like, oh, I understand this and that. So, that's good. Ultimate Wolverine by Chris Condon. Chris Condon, how funny. Cannot wait to read more of this. Now, I'm not gonna say how I felt about this book so far, unless I absolutely have to. With Absolute Green Lantern, I am gonna briefly mention how I'm liking it so far. You know what, fuck it, I'll do it. So far, this is really good. I'm 2 issues in, and I'm really liking this new approach on the Wolverine lineage, and how it's the Winter Soldier. That's kind of cool. It's not really it's right here. It's right there. Even I knew that going in. It's not that much of a spoiler. It's not insistent upon itself that, like, it's a huge reveal or anything like that. But I love these fresh new takes on these characters. Like how the Ultimate Universe, this new Ultimate Universe, can go completely differently. and it's not for the worse, it's for the better. Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, I'm going to mention these authors, even though they don't have any image work under their belts. This is done by Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly. Which, if you told me that one of these names is a pen name and they're the same person, I wouldn't bat an eye. They're always working together, and they always kind of write the same kind of book. Now, this one is so far so good. Some minor hiccups here and there, but so far so good. So far, this is my favorite Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly book so far. There's Spider-Punk I dropped after Volume 1. I've had no inclination, no want to read any more than just the first volume. The end Miles Morales was atrocious, and their Miles Morales run was only okay. And actually, I think it might have been just Jackson Lanzing, or just Colin Kelly. I could be wrong, though. But they usually paired up with one another. So far so good with Guardians of the Galaxy. But I also, on the flip side, I don't know if I'm going to pick up Volume 2 immediately after Volume 1. I do like how they're kind of trying to go for a different kind of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'll tell you guys what I mean by that when I review the book. My favorite run of Deadpool. This is Daniel Way's run. I read half of this. I want to say actually almost more than half of this entire run. And I still feel the same way. And by half, I mean there's 4 volumes. I'm like 2.5 in, I believe. Last time I never finished it, but I think I've gotten that far. Now, like with DC's, this will probably be one that I drop, then months later you'll see me showing this off again and be like, oh, and hopefully I finish this time. But again, I own it, so I'm going to go as slow as I want to go with this book. Red Hood the Hill and Red Hood the Lost Days. Now, this I thought was digital-only webtoons put into comic book format. It is not. They were actually issues released of the series, like actual issues. This one is by Sean Martinborough, who is the artist for Thief of Thieves, which is an image series. This one, I'm not going to say which is which, but one of these, now this is written by Judd Winnick, and this is going to be a test for you guys to, if you've watched enough of my content, you already know what I'm alluding to when I say one of these is not as good as the other. I'm not going to say which is which, but I'm just going to say that one of these is better than the other. Like, marginally better than the other. So far. Leave it at that. Suicide Squad Dream Team is one of those books that just showed up. I was looking up what they have for Steve Orlando's work in the local library. This one kept showing up, and I kept forgetting to check it out. Obviously, that has changed. So far, it's decent. It's co-written by Nicole Main, so I've never heard that name before. But it's alright. It definitely has that feel of that book I'd pick up from my local comic shop, and I was kind of glad that it was a mini-series. Or I was like one of those things. I was just like, yeah, it was good, and I wouldn't have minded paying $4 for each issue of that series, but it wasn't when I'd like be raving over or anything like that. Like if the reread wouldn't be as consistent as it would be for something like World of Krypton by Robert Venditti or Contagion by Ed Brisson. Absolute Green Lantern by Al Ewing is absolutely amazing so far. 3 issues in? Yeah. So all these series, all the ones that go by issue, I am 3 issues in. Deadpool, it's more because I was reading that beforehand. I believe it's the only one. And then the next one I am deeper into than the others, and all the others. So far so good. And then for the last non-image book, we have The Human Target by Tom King. So far, I'm remembering how much I used to love the series. It's not that old. Come on, brain. So far, I'm remembering why I cited this as being one of the better Tom King books. Tom King is one of those writers that I am super heavily critical over because of how much people regard his work as being godly and untouched, and everything he writes is a masterpiece, and oh my god, he does this thing, and it's like so cool, like I just think it's so cringe sometimes. Sometimes. The best way to describe it, how I feel about all that I just mentioned, to TLDR it, is that I have to really think, when I hear people, like, just gush, and I'm gonna be a little crude here, come in their fucking pants over everything that Tom King has read when they're discussing it on their podcast, I really have to think to myself, what author am I that close to being that gushed over? I'm not one of those people that's like overly critical about the comic book community. I actually think comics have had a resurgence and they're like doing better than ever. Not ever, but it's like better than they like have been in years. And they're having a resurgence or rebirth. There's like a bunch of new comic book fans, and we have like comics are like better than ever. Like, not, again, it's an over exaggeration when I say better than ever, but you get what I'm trying to say. We had a dark age, we're out of that dark age now. But so I'm not one of those people, but I also, I don't really go by author. Also, I go by publisher, and then I go by series and then author. Like, it's kind of a mismatch. Like, if it's like, oh, this series looks interesting for me, so from Image, I'll buy it, and then I end up like liking it. It's like, okay, but I really have to think, like Garth Ennis. His comic series Preacher is my favorite comic of all time. Straight up, my favorite comic of all time. If I were to ever discuss this series that Comic Pop does, which is obviously what I was alluding to, I have to really think to myself, would I be gushing that much over it? Probably would, but it's just one of those things I'm thinking to myself. Really, Tom King is the one who's choosing to go that hard over? Alright, to get that hard over, let's be honest. Okay, it's their opinion. It's their opinion, but it's also my opinion that this is how I feel about them and how I feel about Tom King as a writer. So that's why I'm so overly critical of his work. And I'm like, okay, you really think this guy is good? All right, I'm going to be super harsh on his work then. I'm going to be even more critical on his work than I am on other people's work. I am that asshole teacher that targets one student because of one reason or another that doesn't exactly make sense, or is maybe even that all that morally justified. But I hope that I did justify it just now, saying that that's how I am. Now, Human Target I'm really liking so far. His Superman Up in the Sky is my favorite Tom King story, like, by a wide margin. Strange Adventures and Mr. Miracle are interchangeable for me. I know that, like, if I'm reading Mr. Miracle, I'm not like, oh, it's strange. It's just the way that the story structure is very interchangeable, for me at least. And his Rorschach I really did like. So ranking, I'd probably go Superman, Rorschach, this, Batman, Strange Adventures / Mr. Miracle, and then bottom would be Heroes in Crisis. I'm sure there's more that I've read by him. I just can't think off the top of my head what else I've read by him. Even Heroes in Crisis, I think, is a little bit better than Strange Adventures in terms of pacing. But Strange Adventures overall is the only thing that Heroes in Crisis has over Strange Adventures, Mr. Miracle, is the pacing. Other than that, no. Absolutely not. Now, do I think he's a character assassinator? Yes and no. But this is DC Black Label. Pretty much everything he's writing it's from DC, it's published by DC, has been DC Black Label. And that is out of continuity. So this is not the same Human Target as the one that you know. Same as Adam Strange, same as Mr. Miracle. Actually, Mr. Miracle was DC itself, so I can understand that. But for the most part, DC Black Label is a different approach to these characters. So I ignore all continuity and I just judge it as a book by itself. But I think it's a bit overrated. A bit overrated. I just think to have that like approach of it, because I have to grab these. Get up and grab these. It's a big pile. You know what? I'll do it in different piles. I want to go. Yeah, I'll do it this way. It doesn't really matter. That way I don't mess up my. Actually, if anything, I just have to make one stack. But anyways, this is gonna be a yearly. This is gonna be a yearly tradition. I started this last year, and even then it was a reread. This is Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction. a phenomenal series I cannot wait to read, but has one of these biggest fumbles for the ending ever. Now, there's the first, it's just, so this collects issues. I don't usually tell you guys what it collects, but I had to here, so everyone's on the same page. No pun intended. But this collects issues 1 through 30, and then the 69th issue of Sex Criminals. The 69th issue, I headcanoned so hard of it being an alternate ending that the first time that I was rereading this series last year when I was mentioning, I'm rereading Sex Criminals, and I was talking about that series, I said that it was an alternate ending. It really isn't. It's a flash forward. I always knew it was a flash forward, but I always said it was a flash forward / alternate ending. I headcanoned heard noise. I was like, what the fuck was that? I headcanoned so hard that I made myself think that that was the way that the series ended. And it was an alternate ending. And that's what I thought. It's not really, no. But that's how hard I did it. I was like, nope. Because the ending is awful. The 69th issue ends, and just without giving too much away, it contradicts what was set up before. 30th issue, from what I remember, ends probably fine. And there was there's no reason to end it further beyond that. It's perfect. And that 69th issue comes out. And yeah, I know, very funny to have a series called Sex Criminals in your last issue called issue 69. Very funny. But yeah, cannot wait to read this magnum opus. Matt Fraction's magnum opus. Cannot wait to read that one again. It is proof that his Iron Man run was just a fluke. And not indicative of him as a writer. I'm going to put that back up there, probably. Then we have Haunt by Robert Kirkman and Todd McFarlane. So far, this series is pretty good. It's kind of messy. A little messy so far. There are certain details I forget and to remind myself about as I'm reading each issue. And it's not indicative of me as a reader. It's the way that the book is, the way that the story is structured. But so far, it's pretty decent. Now, the reason why I read this was because I wanted to begin with. But then a subscriber of mine was like, "How'd you feel about this?" Mine was showing this on Instagram. He was like, "How'd you feel about this?" It's like, dude, it's a comic haul. Comic haul is different than comic reviews. It's not a review of the comic. It's me showing out the comic. I just got it. I had not read it yet. So to appease him, I'm going to read it. Now, I'll be finishing this on the 28th. It's 28 issues, every one per day, so 28th. So, 29th, you'll get a review of this on Instagram. I'll do it ASAP. Hell, maybe the second I finish it, I'll post my review on Instagram. And I will I'll try my best to remember to put my Instagram in the description of this video. It is in some other videos, but I can't name one on the top of my head, so I'll just put it in this description, and I'll maybe even make a post about it and say, here's my Instagram. So, there you go. Alright, so Haunt. Next one is Ultra Mega by James Harren, who also has the artwork here. This series is a bit of a mess, but a good kind of mess. It's just so entertaining. It's kaiju. Usually I'm not into Godzilla type shit, because it's like, oh, the humans, everything, the human characters is boring, and I'm not going to watch a movie just because it has cool action. That's not enough for me. For a movie critic like me, it's not enough for me. I can't shut my brain off for a movie like that. But this is so much fun, and the characters are actually really cool story too, really unique story too. But it is a bit of a mess. There are things that I am like, I kind of forgot about that, and I'll have to read it again and again and again and again. So it's a horizon of kaiju books for me, or kaiju comics for me. Farmhand. The comedy in this is so bad that it's ruining this story for me so far. I hope it gets good, because these covers are so cool, and they're like automatically like how can you not pick this book after seeing this issue? You think it's like, oh, this hard-ass character, badass character fighting off something or whatever, because he looks like he's about to kick some ass. Pick up. And Rob Galori, I knew nothing about, so hopefully it's good. But this is one of these books that I wish that I had read right off the bat, because this was one of those books I picked up. It's like, oh, it's cheap enough. pick up volume 1 without any of the other volumes. I really wish I had read it right away, because I had the next 2 volumes on a Kindle. I really wish I had done that before I had picked up this entire series. Now, that comic haul was already going to be smaller because of that was the year that I got that year. That was the month that I got the Darwin Cook $100 price book. And I got it for $72, but still pretty expensive, so I had to limit what else I got. So, at the end of the day, I'm glad I got this entire series, but it's one of those books where I'm like, maybe I'm kind of pushing it. So it's written and drawn by Rob Glory. The Beauty. This is so damn good. I cannot wait to read this one again and again and again. Every time I read it, I like it even more. And again, all these Image books, I am 4 issues in on. Starting the 4th issue today. So today is the 4th, right? I don't have my phone with me, so I can't double check to make sure. But I'm pretty sure I'm right. Yes, actually, I'm still on Convert. I'm finishing Convert today. That's 4-issue miniseries. So yes, it is the 4th. Convert by John Arcudi. All over the place, a complete mess, but I kind of like it, I think. That was how I felt about the first time. Second time, I'm understanding a little bit more. Two Moons is of John Arcudi's, so far, my magnum opus of his. This is my second time reading it, and that's how I feel about it. Rumble comes at a close second for John Arcudi, but time will tell if I feel that way. The one thing I don't like about this book, each time I read it and reread it, is that I think it gets too lost in the sauce with the backstory I don't really give a shit about. It's the present shit that I give a shit about, so I don't know. Then we have Moonshine. So a lot of these I've shown off before, that's why I'm kind of going fast with them. I don't have much more to say about these series I haven't already said before. Moonshine, that's kind of why you have to do the continuity with my videos, like how we do with comics. Hey, we came full circle. Moonshine by Brian Azzarello is one of those series I just keep reading because of how much I love it. It's not the best, it definitely needs some more polishing here and there, but it's just really good. The setting is also, they also take complete advantage of the setting too. It's a bit of a mess though. Alpha King is my guilty pleasure. Written by Brian Azzarello and Nick Floyd. It's when I actually do review it, I'll go more in depth, but it's my guilty pleasure. That's all I'll say about that series so far. This is not reviews. This is how I feel about the series so far, and showing off what I'll be reading, what I've been reading, kind of thing. Hardcore. This is written by Andy Diggle. This is a balls to the wall action epic, not action epic. This is balls to the wall action. This could be it's Jason Statham. Jason Statham could direct or act the shit out of this series. I don't think I want him to be the main lead, because I don't think that would work. Maybe it would with this series goes. I don't want to give away the story, but without giving too much away about how the story goes, yeah, you could still cast him and get away with it, but debatable. But he could like, this is Jason Statham, like full frontal. Thief of Thieves, we are on volume 6 out of 7. And then after this, I'm not going to address it. And after this, I'll be reading Manifest Destiny. So this is 30 plus issues. With each 30 plus issue series, once I finish one, I want to jump on to the next one. So this, then Manifest Destiny, then probably Black Science or Outcast, then back to this. So it'll be like a constant cycle of just doing that. Just boom, 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 boom. And then probably Rat Queens at some point. The omnibus. Because I realized I can do that with that too. Maybe that'll be next. After Manifest Destiny. I really want to reread Manifest Destiny. The Humans is the best example. I've read this before. Is the best example of a crude comic, but it has an actual story to it, kind of thing. Will I feel the same way about this second time around? So far, yes. Like, it is really crude. Like the one within the first issue, within the first 10 pages, there's hardcore sex, and they're doing it because oh, it's comics, no comics code, independent publisher, we can do whatever the fuck we want. So, and it's monkey, so it's kind of disturbing, kind of borderline disturbing. It's ew, kind of grosses you out, but it's not it's crude for the sake of being crude, but there's an actual story to go behind it too. It's not like I think it would be. Everything Dead and Dying so far, I'm one issue in. And so far, it is really damn good. That first issue blew me away. Hopefully that sticks to landing. Excellence by Brandon Thomas. Like I said before, so far, so good. I'm liking a lot more than before. It helps that I'm watching the Just Some Guy videos as I'm reading each issue. So it's kind of like I can catch up too. Like it's kind of like the best previously on. It's like, oh yeah, that's what happened in issue 2. That's right too. And before I read issue 3, I watched his coverage on the previous issue. And then last but not least is Horizon. Like I said before, the more I read it, the more information I retain, and the more I learn about this world, this series. It is pretty damn interesting. A lot of why I like this series is because it has really damn good pacing. Compared to something, these are both written by Brandon Thomas. Compare this to Excellence, his other Image Comics series, and the pacing is like really bad here, just because of the fact that there's a lot of narration, and I really don't like narration. I'm really picky about narration. When it's done too much, it really hurts the pacing for me. Excellence is borderline that. But this time around, I am trying to have an open mind about it, and it's been helping a lot to have that open mind, to know that it's going to take me a full half hour, potentially, to read this, and this will literally take half the time at most. So, I know that it's a yin for the yang, whatever comparison you want to make to it. But that, as I say, is that. We are 41 minutes in. I gotta get my book. That, as I say, is that. That's the end. That's all she wrote. That, as I say, is that. I'm trying to, not end this video and be like, oh shit, I want to mention that. But I think we're good.